What up? I'm Bobby Castro, singer, songwriter, rapper, producer, musician, a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. All right, so the reason I brought Bobby Castro over to my space for an interview is for a few reasons. I like to bring people here that have a unique, a unique story about them. And definitely Bobby Castro, from the moment I met him, I knew he was unique in many ways. And if you're familiar with him, you know that he is, he sings, he's a singer, he sings, corridos and everything that falls
corridos, rancheras, a little bit of everything, yeah.
Everything that falls under that umbrella, and he also is a very lyrical rapper. So that's there's people that sing rancheras, and they might rap, but this is something else because of the lyrical content behind the lyrics. You know what I'm saying? That's why I brought you here, not just because you sing and rap, but because you sing and you rap a particular way. You know what I'm saying? So, and when I mean a particular way, like underground hip hop, right? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, steady hip hop. I always thought that. I always felt that when there was singers that rap, but most of them did one pretty well,
right, and
the other not so well,
right.
And it was always something that kind of like a little pet peeve, like a little something like man, don't just force it, get good at this shit before you want to say that you can do both,
right? Because
if not, then just stick to what you do well,
right?
Because nadie te está presionando to do it all or to do them both.
Yeah.
But I've always thought that also because it's different times. Mm-hmm. Different times when I think there was a little bit more, not to take away anything from anybody that does their thing now, but there was a little bit more pressure to be dope.
Right.
Especially, in the rap shit. In the rap shit, the goal was, I don't really remember having the goal of like blowing up or like sending out crowds. I just wanted to be respected by my peers in the game.
That's how I started.
Right. That was the thing. That was to go to the backyard parties and to wait till motherfuckers start spitting and get in the mix. And you couldn't like self-proclaim to be an MC.
Right.
That wasn't a thing. It was like when you heard it from other people's mouths, and that was the goal.
Yeah, that was the goal.
So I think that's why it comes from that, and both played a part in each other for me. Like obviously when I would go to do the paisa stuff, like the paisa studios, me decía la raza like, aquella madre déjala, güey, no es para nosotros. Esa madre ahí no hay feria, güey, no nos va a dejar nada, esto es lo tuyo, güey, aquí. And in the rap world, the homies would be like, man, fuck all that shit, fool, you a MC, you a lyricist, like this is our shit right here, this is, we from LA. I listened to both sides, I obviously for them to be, or for me to be in the studio with them, there was some type of musical respect there for each other.
Right.
But I just knew that they didn't understand yet what I was doing or what I was setting out to do,
Right.
I was always trying to raise the bar, and not in some fucking de recargármela mucho yo in the best way possible.
Right.
I wanted to raise the bar so that we could all get better,
Now you got a particular style, very lyrical, very wordplay. Where did that, what influenced that? Maybe which artists inspired that to, because being from the West Coast, not to knock the West, but the West was a little bit more basic compared to like New York.
Yes, as far as lyrical content, yes. I mean, like any good West Coaster, I enjoyed gangster rap. I enjoyed the shit that I could relate to, but musically, I was always more inclined to like some Nas,
right?
Some Mobb Deep, some Pun, some. Out here we had like the Razzcasses and shit like that. We had our fair share of real hip hop, but it wasn't what was too popular over here.
Right.
However, at the time, like with Lemur Park and all that over there, Project Blow and all that shit. Like there was things that if you really wanted to, you could be involved in the hip hop scene. To me, that was a big high back then. I would go to these events where there was very few raza in those events,
Right.
And especially like going up on stage and there was open mic nights and shit like that.
Right.
Esa madre me llamaba la atención, like me prendía, like to go and to show people that we could rock too.
Yeah.
Like to the few people that paid attention for that night, that was like, a la verga, este vato es mexicano, and he goes hard.
Yeah.
That was at least for me feeling like I was putting a toe holding the door open a little bit for what was to come.
Right.
You know, and it was worth it.
Definitely. So what did you do did you rap first or did you sing first?
I started off, I mean, when I was a kid, I was a straight fucking little paisa, you know, so all you heard in my house was, you know, this was like 80s, 90s. It was almost like taboo to be playing rap in a Mexican household. You're like, hey, esa madre que es, you know, like, so we listened to, my house was very musical. We listened to music for everything, in the good times, bad times, para limpiar, para todo, right?
Yeah.
Which, at the end of the day, played a part too in everything. It all kind of ended up working out because, like I said, how they would tell me to leave it alone. One day I asked one of the homies, I said, hey, güey, ¿a ti te gusta como escribo, güey? Like mis corridos y las rolas. Simón, güey, pero por eso te digo que mejoraste para acá, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, loco, si supieras que I wouldn't be able to write like that if it wasn't for hip hop. And I started breaking it down to them why. I was like, mira, güey, allá, güey, when we go to a hip hop session, entramos, güey, and even though we're homies, low-key, we're trying to fucking cut each other's heads off on a verse. Remember I told you that one time when I went to your spot?
Yeah.
And that is hip-hop, yo siempre he dicho que hip-hop es competitivo por naturaleza.
Right.
You know, like, no matter what, everybody wants to have the hardest verse on that song. So it's a different pressure, right? And you get there and you have, shit, if there's a lot of dudes, you have 8 bars to say that. You know, at the most, you're going to have 16.
So you better cram a bunch of
So
cool.
I say, you got to say, le dije, y cada 4 tiene que ser un punch. Le dije, if you're like me, where I'm anal about shit like that, you know, like, tiene que ser un punch, and somehow at the end you have to reference something that you said over here to make sense. I was like, es otro pinche rollo, güey, no crean que es nomás. I was like, maybe because some of you guys are used to hearing shit that you think maybe like it's elementary, and it's like, but you pay attention to real lyrics and real hip hop, es otro pinche rollo, le dije. So when it came time for me to come back into the Spanish shit, to write songs, I have so much space to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
But that exercise in writing verses, shit, to this day, if I ever get some kind of like, and not to toot my own horn, but I don't get writer's block that much anymore, you know? That's a whole nother conversation. There's the whole thing with
I know all about that.
Right? It's self-doubt and taking that shit out of your motherfucking head completely. It's kind of one of the cures for that shit. But with that being said, if ever I need to kind of like you know, I need to refresh, like I'll write some hip hop.
Yeah, to go back and start.
I'll write some hip hop because I think that exercises your mind.
Right.
Vas acá, like it's más rápido, pues, you know, you have to be. And in anything you do, I think that if you try to do it well, and it's like, as far as where I come from musically, you have to be clever. You know, you have to be clever as opposed to just settling for the first thing that comes to mind. As a matter of fact, I was like, don't go where your first mind is telling you to go. You know, even like musically, when I play or when I'm writing a melody or something, I know where it's supposed to go, right? And I know what is gonna feel good to everybody because it's just we're trained to.
Yeah, your brain.
And I try to stay away from that.
Got you. You try to in between, no, outside of the lines. Try to color outside.
And then also know when te lo está pidiendo.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to know when to also be like, sometimes that whole trying to be clever so much, it could eat you up. It could take you into a whole other place where it starts getting weird.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, get a little too weird.
Yeah, so it still has to be palatable to
it still has to make sense.
Yeah.
But it's still got to be a little chaotic, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever met you was at Kid Frost Studio, and we spoke on this a few times, and when I pulled up to Kid Frost Studio, I thought I was the illest, and nobody could tell me different, you know what I'm saying? Because people that were coming in and out of there, they were cool, but I didn't think that they were cut of my cloth, you know what I'm saying? So then you came in and I'm like, you kind of on your alpha male, like, who's this, you know what I'm saying? And then I remember you going in the booth and just destroying it. I'm like, okay, he's one of us.
And you could always tell when it's because I remember that look that you gave me.
Yeah.
It was one of, because see, like they say, when you're in a room of people que se sienten like where there's alpha shit going on, somebody being dope or somebody saying they're doing something never seems like they're showing off. Right? It's like if I'm around you and you're telling me some dope shit that you do, I'm gonna get pumped up because I know and I believe it. Right? So there's a respect. It's just that hip hop will forever be competitive, and it should be.
It wasn't threatening. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw it. Like you're the only one that asked me a certain question after. Everybody else, and in respect to all the homies that were there and everything, and everybody was like, damn, that shit was dope. That shit. But you had some questions. And that's kind of where, and I already knew too. Like, to me, that was always it was a breather every time I ran into any raza that understood it.
That understood.
That understood the whole the metaphors, the similes, the other shit that what it is to be an MC. The cadences, all that shit.
Something very important is rapping outside of the 5 topics that rappers usually rap about.
That's the hardest shit in the world to do.
You know what I mean? It's easy to rap about the hypersexual, the drugs, the guns, and all that, but when you can rap outside of that, that's when you can really test the MC. Like, damn, he really
and it's the same. And it's the same in corridos. It's the same in songwriting. It's just so easy to fall into, because then it gets crazy too. Because it's a business too. Sometimes it's kind of like, where do you separate what the people want and what's true to you? I mean, I think that ultimately, it's also we're all in this for a different reason too.
Exactly. I could whip up a 16 of some ignorant stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that, and it'll be the hardest.
I remember one of the last times that I had a session with you. We had a whole ass conversation about this, right? Because we were both like, we come from a different time, where we were in this shit when it was wild, And then what happens when you don't condone a lot of that shit no more? Then it starts feeling a little weird to even speak about it, to rap about it, right? And we started talking about how, like, with me, it could get like contradicting because I write corridos, and shit like that. And then we had the conversation, and I told you, I was like, I think that we're trying to do the same thing, but we use different methods. For example, one time, I started getting too conscious on my shit, on my raps and on my songs. And I was okay with that because it's what made me feel. I was true to myself. But then one day it hit me that I was like, youngsters, the ones that you're trying to get to their ears, they run for you fast when you get too conscious on them. We got to understand that we were there one time and felt like that too. And then I thought, you know what? I have to do something to reel them in first. I have to reel them in first because I understand this is a fact, and the reason I figured this out is because I don't know what it is, if it's a calling or something where I'm trying to save some lives too. In the process of trying to live well.
They say the poison is in the antidote. You know what I'm saying? So you throw a little bit of poison in the recipe.
I thought this when I was a youngster, like, si una persona de bien me decía algo, yo, la neta, my thought ignorantly was like, este vato que sabe, like, what does he know about the way we live? You straight. That's why, because you have this fucking victim mentality, and I realized that if like an OG or a person that I respected, that I knew was in the trenches, that I knew did some shit, the day that person told me the same shit, but it said his words, I was like, oh, for sure.
It's funny because when my dad would tell me something, like, mijo, and I was like, man, in my head, shut up. But then, like, the older homie from the hood be like, hey, listen, guys, don't be stealing around the neighborhood or writing in our walls.
For sure,
You'll be like, oh, like,
Simon,
the same thing, but if it comes from somebody that's respectable or cool or you perceive as, it penetrates. So I think that's kind of where my ni tanto para allá ni tanto para acá. I found a way to kind of create a hybrid. You got to walk on a tightrope, is what I say. You know what I'm saying? You can't go a little to left, to the right. And it's hard to write like that. Not anybody can write.
And then and then it gets, you got to find a way to keep it fun too for you, because for me what it is that I like to throw little secret messages in the shit where it's like, it's a message, but I make the message sound cool.
Me too.
Right?
I try to make positivity sound masculine. You know what I'm saying? Like hard body, like like a military dad, you know what I'm saying? Like when the military, get your ass, and you're like, oh damn, you know what I'm saying? You respect it more. I don't know.
It's going back to what we said, like, like there's youngsters that I've told that they carry themselves in a certain way that I know that they respect me, that I know that they look up to me. So then I'm like, quick fix a lot of times when I be like, hey, my boy, like, why do you carry yourself like that? Like, extra out, you know?
Right.
And I get it, you know, they're in the field now, you know, and there's a whole other playing field now. And they're there, and you got to earn your respect, and you got to be a certain way so people won't try to get over on you.
Right.
But I've asked some of those guys, like you fuck with me, you respect me, like you think that I'm an honorable man, you know? Hell yeah, bro. And I was like, do you ever see me carry myself like that in order to gain whatever the fuck?
Right.
And yet I still have it. Y se quedan como que, a la verga, pues sí. Right. That I get it, right? It's different because you still got to earn it, right? You still have a lot of years and experience.
I think when we're up there in age and we still have like, we're still cool, you know what I'm saying? It comes with a responsibility because
definitely
we can still inspire, you know, like when we were saying when we were young and somebody older told us a positive message, we embraced it. So we can have.
No, it's definitely a responsibility.
It's a responsibility for us to kick the right message to certain youngsters that are looking up to us. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm very careful with the way I write.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have to, and it's not completely. I mean, some shit, some old habits die hard. You know.
Yeah.
There's a million things that I have to catch myself still.
Me too.
As much as I know now.
Right.
And as much as I know what I want and who I am. There's memories there, and there's things that y que sí me emociono todavía, you know, like one thing that I could tell you for sure, you know, a lot of LA has become gentrified.
Right.
And even though to a certain extent it's for the best, you know, I've caught myself with certain homies walking around in the hood and kind of being like, hey, wait, we're kind of walking around kind of cool, you know? Kind of like, and it hits you. But there's certain things and elements that I will forever miss.
That you will miss, for sure.
You know, like, the liveness of it.
When it was being outside.
Cuando era como un pinche vecindario, you know, like, ¿qué onda? Y estaba ahí Doña María, luego acá pasaba el loco este y luego este otro. Y it was the hustle and bustle of it, you know, like the.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, the PTSD that I still have to this day of, like, walking was not a thing back when I was young. Like, it was dangerous to walk.
No, your head was on a fucking swivel.
You know what I'm saying? It was dangerous to walk, and a child should not be scared of walking to the store. You know what I'm saying? Well, now it's kind of like that now again with all these homeless and stuff. But growing up, just walking was.
But it was also so normal because I'm thinking.
It was.
I wouldn't send probably none of my nephews and nieces that are kids ever to the store to get tortillas or they won't survive that walk.
Yeah.
And now that it's not as crazy. But back then nos mandaban como si nada. You know?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, like at a very early age, you start walking to the store. You walk to school by yourself.
I was talking to my daughter.
It was very uncool to get walked.
Yeah,
especially once it was like to the bus stop.
Nah,
man. You can't walk me to the bus stop.
Once I hit the 4th grade, my mom was like, yo, you walking to school.
Yeah.
And then after that, catching the bus. My daughter the other day, she told me, like, damn, imagine if me and my friends, because she's 10, imagine if me and my friends could just walk to the store. That would be cool, huh? I said, we used to do that back in the day. The girls used to go get the corn nuts. You know, they'd walk in a little pack and come back. And
my homie, because, you know, a lot of my homies that I grew up with, like, they have kids now, and they'll tell me, they'll be like, look, my kids are very smart as far as like book smart, and now they have the internet and they learn whatever they want, whatever they're interested in learning, they can look it up, and there's the age of information, right?
Right.
Like, but survival skills, as far as like worldly shit, like it's like I'll drop these motherfuckers a couple of blocks away from me, and they'll probably just sit there and die. Y like nosotros pura verga, nosotros le buscábamos, you know, like I mean. It's crazy how the world has changed.
Hey, swap that fly.
That was chilling right there.
I was trying to chill.
That was what
Mike Pence. But back to the music. As far as your most influential MCs, top 5, not your favorite, but the ones that kind of molded you to who you are. You know what I'm saying? If you could name 5 of them.
Fuck, that's a tough one, but
that just kind of molded your style. Like if you could throw 5 in a blender and Bobby Castro would be the outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the recipe for Bobby Castro.
Believe it or not, you know who I really like too, that I feel like, because I was in a rap duo that was kind of popular back then.
Right.
And I felt like the Dog Pound, even though they were like gangster rappers,
right.
I feel that they were kind of lyricists too. I think that I was able to relate to that a lot because I liked hip hop and I like to be lyrical.
Right.
But also I'm from out here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think like Corrupt as like they played or something. Nas definitely. Nas is probably right there in the top as far as what I like. I'll even throw Pac in there because even though like I wasn't one of those that Pac.
Right.
I respected like he what I think that he inspired in me was the being like trying to be prolific.
Right.
You know, like that type of shit. I like Quick a lot. You know, even though like I said, I listened to a lot of East Coast rap back then. I think I was heavily influenced by like Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, and all that.
Right.
But there was a part of me that wanted to embrace
the West,
the guys over here more. Somebody that I really fucked with that was in a later generation than me was definitely Nipsey Hussle.
Nipsey Hussle.
I think that when I came across him, I felt like he was kind of a very dope hybrid of being a good rapper,
right?
West Coast rapper, but rhymed dope and had punchlines and also had a message,
right?
You know, and
Nipsey being one of the later MCs.
Yeah, but man, I'm trying to really think. Like this question I have asked myself many times, and I had to answer, and then right now I'm getting stuck while you're asking me. But it's because, you know, I've been influenced by. It's hard for me to ever pinpoint,
right? Because
since I do, it's so broad the music that I do. I was influenced by so much shit. You know, so much music from so many eras and so many styles that I think there's some people that my style of doing music trips them out, and especially older guys when we chop it up and they know the music that I know, they be like, oh fuck, it makes sense. So yeah, it's really hard, but I think if I have to like pinpoint one of the MCs that I most respect, it probably have to be Nas.
Nas, yeah, I would probably
have to be Nas.
How about as far as singers?
Singers, it would have to be more in the Spanish realm.
Like Spanish.
Yeah, the one that I was the most influenced as far as songwriting.
Name a few.
Cornelio Reina. Definitely the top two would be Cornelio Reina and ¿cómo se llama este vato? How the fuck am I drawing a blank right now? José Alfredo Jiménez. Cornelio Reina, José Alfredo Jiménez. As far as like style and melody, Juan Gabriel, Joan Sebastian, El Buki. I've always said creatively, if I was to mix those five in a pot, I think you could create the best song ever, you know? Because those guys just had it, they each had their special superpower.
And now Vicente not in there?
Well, Vicente, obviously, mi respetos, always singing-wise, he was a beast, but I was always more in touch with like singer-songwriters.
Right, songwriters.
And he wasn't a songwriter, but I mean, mi respetos for people that don't songwrite and could interpretar una rola the way he did, because
he was the best at that.
Because that's very difficult. A lot of times, to be honest, when the writer is a singer-songwriter, it's hard to perform the song better than them.
Right.
But there are some artists that, and you know, just like there's a difference between a recording artist and a performing artist.
Right.
You know, cada quien tiene su pinche.
Their thing. How many instruments do you play? What instruments do you play?
I started off with the drums. That was the first instrument I picked up. And then once I started getting into the hip hop shit and doing the production, it was the keys. Right now I play the bajo sexto, bajo quinto. I play a little bit of bass. Once you kind of like get musically inclined and play one instrument, you could figure out most of them just kind of like, aprendiéndote las escalas. Obviously, there's some that are more difficult than others, but I can dabble in a bunch of them.
Do you think that people that know how to sing have a better chance at being good with the instrument than a person that doesn't know how to sing? Do you think that like being that you can already play your own vocal cords you
I was inclined to immediately say yes, but now I started thinking like shit. I know a lot of dudes that are fucking
beast and they can't sing.
beast and they can't sing worth a motherfucking.
So it's hit and miss. It's hit and miss.
Yeah.
But I do think that if you are good at singing, that an instrument will come a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, I just think that if you're in any of the arts.
Yeah.
Like look, you know, like when you're in the arts, I think that like, cause I'm done taking some wild ass pictures sin querer queriendo.
Right.
You know, I think that when you're in the arts, I think that you can pick up almost any of them because you just have a creative mind.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, that's a fact. That's a fact. So as far as the Spanish music and the hip hop, what are you doing more lately?
Spanish. Yeah, Spanish. And it's always been back and forth. And I'll never si no dejé uno ya at this point, I'm never gonna do it. Because there's mentors that I've had that, you know, those mentors are kind of meant to fucking mind fuck you in the sense of like some of the advice they give you is like, what the fuck, right? Because them fools would like super like they will be on me about like, damn bro, you're dope and all this shit, which is rare. You know, you're dope at everything you do. But with that being said, choose one, me decían. And I used to be like, well, you just pumped me up, but I get it now. I mean, but since I had a chip on my shoulder back then, you know, like most of us do when we're young, you think like, shit, well, it's probably hard for them, not for me. You know, like I could do it. Why should I? At one point, I understood what they meant. In this fucking career industry, it's hard enough to do one thing.
Yeah, there's a saying, I don't know if you've heard it, a jack of all trades is, what is it? A jack of all trades
master of none
is a master of none. But the full saying is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but a master of none is better than a master of one, or something like that. So if you listen to the whole thing, is saying that knowing multiple different things is better than just being great at one thing.
Yeah, and look, I know that it was a little bit of arrogance back then on my part, but I embraced the shit that I wanted to be a master of all.
Right.
At least the ones that I picked up. The ones that I felt that I couldn't, se los dejaba zapatera a su zapato, you know?
Yeah.
But the ones that really pulled me, that I thought like why? Why should I pick? Like if I'm able to do a lot of this shit well, and I'm willing to do the work, because I realized later what they meant was like too much on your plate.
Yeah, have a target.
You know, too much on your plate.
I get it.
But then the way I deflected that was like, well, what if I'm willing to work that much harder?
I think if you want to be a front man, focus on one thing. But if you're gonna be a behind the scenes success, do it all that way. Like for instance, myself doing interviews, doing beats, doing this. One of them gotta hit. You know.
Also that, right? Also is like, I think that now that some of these people that they look at me and they smile, you know, when I went into them, because my thing was also to have a lot of different avenues, like to I was going for longevity from the gate. Because I knew that this shit is sometimes a short lifespan. Especially being the front guy, being the guy on stage. As a matter of fact, when I got my first major deal as an artist, I went over there to show fucking songs and production. I was trying to secure myself still being in the industry without having to be a fucking star or an artist.
What are some of your biggest milestones to this point? Like
the Chiqui Rivera song, the Abeja Reina.
You did a song you wrote for her, right?
Yeah, the Grammy. I've done a lot of shit for TV and film.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty dope. I did 2 anthems for the LAFC, for the soccer team.
Oh, damn.
So there's a couple of more that I forget, but like, cause sometimes I think that is a gift and a curse, is like you get tunnel vision, right? And then you start getting these accolades, and you're just like, fuck, I just gotta go harder. I gotta go harder now. I gotta go harder now, because, and that's why I tell everybody, I'm like, look, man, especially when we're younger, none of us want to sit on the bench, right? Put me in, coach. I'm better than the starter. But what are you gonna do when they put you in, bro? If you're not gonna score a triple-double, knock that shit out the park, meter un pinche gol de chilena on the 90-something minute, then don't be so quick to want that. Because you're not gonna get the same time as everybody else when you're like, everybody earned that time already. You know, you gotta be also understanding all this shit, and the thing is, like how they say about luck, you know, there's no such thing as luck. It's preparation meeting opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I know this to be a fact now in my life. Like, there's another guy that, you know, if you pay attention, people, especially that are in the same realm that you are, as far as what you're looking for, they're gonna give you some fucking gems. But you got to be ready to receive them too.
Right.
Everybody else is partying or doing whatever. For that moment, you were this much ahead of the game of everybody else, at least. You know, and you got to try to keep those moments going. They say, you know, a ball player, an athlete, let's say a baseball player, the ratio of like how much more, it's like one hit more than everybody else, or half a hit as far as stats, gets you the big money. You know?
Yeah, small increment of.
Yeah, so all we gotta really focus on is try to be this much, work this much more.
Yeah.
You know?
A little bit more.
Just a little bit more, you know, than.
For sure.
And that's just to give you a fighting chance, you know, because ain't nothing guaranteed. Because there's somebody that's gonna come one day maybe and do way less, and he's gonna get that opportunity. But I was always scared of making it like that, because it's gotta be wild to hit it off just así de chiripada, and then to maintain that.
Right.
It's gotta be nerve fucking wracking.
Yeah,
you know?
because like the one hit wonders. They get that spike, and then they're like, all right, let me try to do it again. And then when they don't, you crash.
So I tell, you know, I mentor a lot of youngsters now, and I tell them this. I was like, look, one of the small differences was that luckily I was always prepared for the opportunities.
Right.
And you don't know when they're coming, and that's why you can't slack off. You gotta stay in the fucking dojo. You gotta keep your sword sharp.
Yeah.
Because you're crying and put me in, and then that one day that you're probably just chilling and a certain person happens to be there, people like, oh, you do that, let me see.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people crash and burn in those moments because they were not preparing for that moment.
Right.
And every moment that I had like that in life, I knocked that motherfucker out the park, you know?
Yeah.
And that doesn't come with you just kind of like sitting around and waiting for it.
No, you gotta be ready for it.
You have to. It's like anything else. It's like anything else, right? It's like if me and you don't do music and don't do this shit for the next year or two, we're gonna be rusty when we get back in there. We're gonna knock some shit out porque ya tenemos colmillo.
Yeah. No,
you know,
that's a fact.
but it's gonna be as opposed to when you're consistently,
yeah.
And
you're always lubricated. You know what I'm saying? You're always.
That's the magic is that.
Yeah.
Right. The magic is that. Like I made a mistake when I first signed. That. Something that I always told people not to do, I got comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable, you know why? Because it became a job to me. It became work. And since I was used to being independent and always on my time, and I was just going, I was so fucking hungry, that once I had this deal where they're asking me to turn this in, I would turn that motherfucker in tomorrow. And then I'm chilling, playing FIFA for the next, fucking, you know? And then, we need you to go to the lab and do this, or we need you to write this for show. I'm turning it in tomorrow, and in my mind, I'm like, well, shit. If I'm finishing it faster than everybody else, that means I'm earning this extra time to chill. But no, there's no motherfucking extra time to chill. One day, I started noticing, like the scariest thing in life to me, is to lose the gift.
Yeah.
You know, to lose the gift. But we gotta work towards not losing that motherfucker. You know, you gotta water that motherfucker.
You gotta water the plant.
And I started feeling that shit. Like when I was right there just chilling. And I'm the type of person though that I always think that we gotta be the hardest critic on ourselves. We gotta catch ourselves. Like how the fuck you lie to yourself?
Yeah.
You know when you're doing something wrong, your motherfucking stomach's gonna speak to you.
Right.
You just gotta learn how to listen and fix it. A lot of people are too proud to fix themselves, you know?
Yep.
Me, hell no, I need to fix my shit fast. I need to catch it fast. And I started thinking like, what is it that's making me like this? And I caught it. I was like, you know what? I stopped being as active. Like, how you gonna stop doing what you were doing to get you there?
Right.
I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make.
For sure.
And it's like, that day I got up and I went to 3-4 sessions and I was back.
You're back at it.
So sometimes it's the easy fix. You just gotta catch the problem.